Welcome to All Souls. I'm Marlon Lavenhar.
And I'm Nicole Kirk, and Randy Lewis is our online minister today.
We are so glad that you are here with us. We want to welcome those who are online as well from across the country and around the world. Welcome. If you place a joy or concern in the chat on Zoom or Facebook, we will light a candle for you and your joy and concern in the service in just a few moments.
Are you a first-time visitor? Well, we have a gift for you. If you would raise your hand as our ushers come up the aisles, they'll bring that gift to you. You need to hold up your hand so they can see it. Keep it up there for a bit. We have someone over on the far side. They'll bring that gift to you. And after the service, we invite you to Sonnen Library, which is across the foyer, and there'll be someone there to greet and answer any questions you may have about All Souls.
It's great to see some new people with us. Now, a few times a year, we come together in combining both our traditional service at 10 and our humanist service at 11:30 into one service. It's a great chance to get to know one another, to bring our community together in this way. And it's a time for us to think about how can we put together a service that stretches across the humanist all the way through theist and all the different ideas about theology that exist in this community. So I wanted to say that today's service will bring us all together under our theme of the month, which is God, which includes some who both believe in God in various ways and some who don't find that concept very meaningful at all. Here at All Souls, we honor the wide range of theological experiences. For some, what we call God is found in the trees and in the grass and in the rhythms of nature and in love and in conscience. For others, God is understood in a more traditional way, in more supernatural terms. And yet for others, the meaning and purpose are found without reference to God at all. One of the great gifts of All Souls is the freedom to imagine and to experience and to question ideas about God in whatever ways feels most authentic to you. In this shared service that we have today, you will hear reflections of the divine that are natural, that are supernatural, that are poetic and personal. Our hope is that you will find something in this service that speaks to you, and most of all, that you will appreciate the beauty of being part of a community where we're learning how to make room for everyone.
Yes.
We invite you to join us in honoring the many ways that this theme is understood among us here at All Souls. Now I invite you, as you are able, to rise for our opening words. This is indeed a day to celebrate. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Let us
count our many
blessings. Let us be grateful for the capacity to see, feel, hear, and understand. Let us be especially grateful for the ties of love which bind us together, giving dignity, meaning, worth, and joy to all of our days. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. As our chalice lighter comes forward, please take a moment to greet somebody and tell them you're glad they're here this morning.
Yes.
I knew I was going to forget that. I knew that was going to happen. Getting to know each other. Wow, this place just warmed up a whole bunch when I felt everybody hugging and shaking hands and greeting one another. How lovely. Continue that spirit throughout the day here at All Souls. Right now, our chalice lighter this morning is Eileen Kenny, who is a former president of our congregation, a fantastic president during her term. She's now serving as our vice president of finance, and later today you'll see her helping to outline our budget for 2026 in our congregational meeting. But for now, we invite you to please light our chalice.
We light this chalice for the miracles we almost miss, the help that arrives in ordinary form, the whisper beneath the thunder, the sacred hiding in plain sight. May we be present to what is around us and open to the community and the work that gathers us here today.
Good morning. I have a story for you today called Hide and Seek with God by Mary Ann Moore. Once upon a time, God said, I'm bored because I don't have anything to do. I want to play with my friends, and because God is God, as soon as the words were spoken, God's friends were there. And when God saw them all gathered, God said, I've been bored because I haven't had anything to do. Let's play something. Good idea, said God friends. What shall we play? And God thought for a minute, and then he said, I know. Let's play hide and seek. And all the friends said, yay! For they knew that hide and seek with God was always exciting and different because God was the one who hid, and God always thought of wonderful places to hide. So God's friends closed their eyes tight, and they counted to 10, and when they opened their eyes, God wasn't there anymore, and they all went off to look for God. One friend decided to look close upon the earth, and soon came to a meadow, and as he was searching, he stopped to admire the tender new sprouts of green grass pushing their way up toward the sun. He bent over to look closely at the tender green, and he realized that there was something special and amazing and wonderful about it. So he jumped up and he ran back to home base calling out, I found God. God is green and growing. I found God in the grass. And another one of God's friends decided to look for God in the night. She watched the sun go down and the workaday noises stop and the lights in the houses go out. And as it got darker and as the peaceful night wrapped itself around her, she listened very hard. And then she realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about it. And when it was so still that she could see and hear nothing at all, she suddenly jumped up and ran to home base calling out, I found God. God is dark and peaceful. I found God in the dark. A third friend looked on the earth, and he felt the mystery of the grass growing toward the sun. And he stayed and he watched the night come, and he felt the mystery of the darkness and the stars. And he thought to himself, these mysteries are special and amazing and wonderful. But when he finally came back to home base, he said, I found wonderful mysteries, but I'm not sure if I want to call them God. A fourth friend looked for God where people were. He joined a group of people going home from work and went with them into the store where they bought food. And he went with them back out into the street as they started for their homes. And when he was with them, someone came up and said, please, I'm very hungry. Could you share a little food with me? And the people readily agreed. And as he watched, he realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful in those people. He suddenly turned around and ran to home base calling out, I found God. God is love and sharing. I found God in people who care for others. Finally, 2 more of God's friends decided to look for God together. After a time, they came to a house and they decided to look for God in the house. And in the house, they saw a room and they looked for God in the room. And in the room, they saw a mirror and they looked for God in the mirror. And as they looked into the mirror, they realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful being reflected in it. And they suddenly turned around and ran home and called out, "We found God. We found God in us." At this, God appeared again and said, "I had so much fun. Weren't those good hiding places? Some of you found me, others weren't sure, and others are still looking. That's okay, because the most important thing is just to play the game. Let's do it again, because I'm sure I can think of some other good hiding places." And they all called out, "Ollie, Ollie, oxen free," and the game started all over again. I invite our children and youth to come to Sunday school where we can talk about all of the places we can find God.
One of our traditions in the 10 o'clock service is to light candles and lift up names of those who are going through various joys and concerns, and to invite other people to lift up names. So we're going to do that. And I wanted to begin with a candle for the people in Australia, who the Jewish community who experienced an act of terror on the eve of Hanukkah. And we're thinking about the Jewish community here who gather outdoors to light their Hanukkah candles this evening, that they'll be safe and protected and know that they're loved. But I know it creates that sense of terror across the communities all over the world. And so we're thinking of our Jewish friends and neighbors and members here at All Souls today as Hanukkah begins this evening here. And also for those from Brown University and those in Rhode Island, their family and friends after the mass shooting that happened yesterday at Brown. We're thinking about everybody there and everybody impacted by gun violence. We're thinking about our member Carol Dillard, who passed away a few days ago. We're thinking about her children, Karen Davis and Craig Dillard, on that loss. We light a candle for those in our community who are recovering from illness, who are in various stages of care in the hospital or hospice and other places. We're thinking especially of Keith Margerison, who was in the hospital after a mild heart attack yesterday, but he's doing great. So we're so thankful, and light a candle for him and for Lynn Burson, his wife. We light a candle for all those joys and concerns that are unspoken but remain in our hearts this morning. And I invite you, if you have the name of someone that you'd like to bring into the service or light a candle for, please call it out, and we'll light these candles. Davis, all right. All right, we have all of our candles lit this morning. Yes, Keith Burson, that's his name. So at this time, I invite all those who are in the first year of the death of the loss of a loved one. This is also something we do at 10 o'clock. We invite those who are mourning the death of a loved one. If you're in the first year of that death, we invite you to rise in memory and mourning. Also, if this Sunday is the closest to the anniversary of the death of a loved one at any point in your life, we invite you also to stand for a moment of silence. You may be seated. Let's take a moment to center ourselves, to really open our awareness to this moment, to the fact that we're alive on this planet, hurling through space, as the season's changing, as the weather is changing and cooling. As the holidays approach, here we are in a community dedicated to openness and welcome, a place of belonging for so many of us, where we can feel at home, a place where we can bring all of ourselves to the table, our beliefs, our questions, our identities. May we give thanks for places of openness and people with kind hearts. May all the good feelings that we feel here, may we take them out into the world and spread them widely. Feel the warmth in this place, the warmth of those sitting around you, the warmth of those wherever you are in the world or in time or space with us right now. May you feel our presence across the country and around the world. We lift up all the joys and concerns on our hearts and give thanks. Blessed be.
This morning's reading is one of my favorite stories for this time of year. It's called A Shepherd by Haywood Brown. The host of heaven and the angel of the Lord had filled the sky with radiance. Now the glory of God was gone, and the shepherds and the sheep stood under the dim starlight. The shepherds were shaken by the wonders they had seen and heard, and like the animals, they huddled close. "Let us now," said the eldest of the shepherds, "let us now go unto Bethlehem and see this thing which has come to pass." Now the city of David lay beyond a far high hill, upon the crest of which danced a star. The men now made haste to be away, but as they broke out of the circle, there was one called Amos, who remained. He dug his crook into the turf and clung to it. "Come, come," cried the eldest of the shepherds, but Amos shook his head. They marveled, and one called out, "It's true! It was an angel! You heard the tidings. A Savior is born." "I heard them," said Amos. "I will abide." The eldest looked at Amos, and as the others started to walk away, he turned around one more time as he got farther down the road and looked at Amos standing on a little hill. The old man said, "You do not understand. We have a sign from God, and an angel has commanded us." "It is not in my heart," replied Amos. Well, now the eldest of the shepherds was angry. "With your own eyes," he cried out, "you have seen the host of heaven in these dark hills." And again, Amos said, "It's not in my heart." Another shepherd then broke in, "Because the hills stand still and the sky has not fallen, it's not enough for Amos. He must have something louder than the voice of God." And then Amos held more tightly to his crook, and he answered, "I have a need of a whisper." Oh, they laughed at him and said, "What should this voice say in your ear?" He was then silent as they pressed about him and they mocked him. "Tell us now, what does the God of Amos, the little shepherd of 100 sheep, say?" And then meekness fell away from him, and he took his hands from his crook and he raised them high. "I too am holy," said Amos in a loud, strange voice. "And to my 100 sheep, I am a savior." And when the din of angry shepherds about him slackened, Amos pointed to his 100. "See my flock? See how frightened they are? The fear of the bright angels and the voices in the sky. God is busy in Bethlehem. God has no time for 100 sheep. These are my sheep, and I will abide." This, the others did not take so much amiss, for now they too saw the terror in all the flocks, and they knew the ways of sheep. And before the shepherds all departed on that road to Bethlehem towards the bright star, many came up to Amos and whispered in his ear and told him what they should do for the care of their flocks. Well, there was so much to be done. As Amos walked between the sheep all alone, and he made under his tongue the clucking noise, that sound which he had a way with, that to his 100 and to the others was a sound more fine and more friendly than the voice of an angel. The animals ceased to tremble, and they began to graze as the sun came up over the hill where the star had been. "For sheep," said Amos to himself, "the angels shine too much. A shepherd is better." We will finish this reading.
Hymn number 95 in the gray hymnal will also be on the screen. If you would find that, please, and rise as you're able to sing "There Is More Love." There is more love, there is more hope, there is more peace, there is more joy. Let's sing together. There is more love somewhere. There is more There is only somewhere. I'm gonna keep on. There is more joy. There is more joy. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. Thank you. You may be seated.
When I was a child, the shepherds were my favorite part of the Christmas story. They seemed friendly, approachable, unlike the mysterious magi who appeared suddenly from the east, dropped off a couple of, well, 3 lavish and useless gifts, and then disappeared into the night from a different direction from which they came. In modern times, the joke goes, if the Magi were 3 wise women, they would have asked for directions and thus arrived in time to help with the birth of the child. They would have brought practical gifts, cleaned the stable, made a casserole, and there would be peace on earth. But that's not the story that got passed down. Oh, so often this time of year we hear one combined story with shepherds and angels and magi and Mary's conversation with the angel and Joseph does some dreaming in there. These elements actually come from 2 completely different birth narratives, and out of 4 gospels, only 2 talk about the birth of Jesus. I always preferred the story from the Gospel of Luke because, well, there are those shepherds. Growing up in rural Oklahoma, I could imagine the shepherds working with the sheep in the cold of winter on a morning like this, and for those who are online, it is bitterly cold here in Tulsa. I can remember those mornings. After all, I too had those responsibilities of feeding and caring for animals, in our case, horses, cats, and dogs. I can imagine the sweeping landscape of grass and the shepherd dutifully watching over his flock, and how startled he must have been when they beheld the splendor of the heavens before them and the proclamation of the birth of a tiny baby who would change the world. Even as an adult, especially in my early years of ministry when I was in Ohio, I spoke of shepherds so often that my son, at the age of 2, when asked, "Who pulled Santa's sleigh?" he answered with confidence, 4 sheep. That's what happens when you let your kid play with the nativity scene like dolls. We were still puzzled until we took a closer look and realized that the shepherds had beards and they had, you guessed it, 4 sheep. Well, all that Christmas, we anticipated the arrival of Santa and his sheep. So instead of ho, 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 we listened for ba, ba, ba. So on this cold December morning, we gather to recall stories of love and reflect on the stories in a new way. But sometimes our expectations about the old stories can get in our way. Just like my family, when we couldn't figure out where my son had gotten the idea about sheep and Santa Claus, we put up the nativity scene every year. It was been in the family, it was a little broken, a little sad, but we put it up with great fanfare, but we never really looked. We had stopped seeing how many sheep, or did the shepherd have a beard or not. Our expectations, oh, I know that story, or I don't like that story, can get in the way. There's a Chinese parable that shows us the power of expectations and how they can obscure what is right in front of us. It goes like this. Some of you have heard it. I told it in chapel a few months ago. It's a story from China. When the horsemen from the north threatened the ancient city of Wu, the local mandarin, desperate and afraid, prayed to the great cloud dragon for help. Now, this mandarin had never seen a dragon before. He had heard stories, the legends, the descriptions passed down through the generations, and so he knew exactly what to expect. Perhaps some of you right now are imagining what this dragon would look like. For him, the dragons were magnificent creatures of the sky. They arrived with thunder and power and unmistakable glory. Dragons to him were creatures of majesty, of spectacle, of obvious and overwhelming presence. So when at his gates a short, plump, balding old man knocked on the city gates and announced that he had come in response to the prayer to the great cloud dragon, the mandarin did not believe him. He looked like an old man and was certain that this old man could not be the dragon. This was just an ordinary man. Perhaps the mandarin thought that the man was confused somehow. He'd gotten too much sun. Perhaps he was a fool, but he certainly was not a dragon. The mandarin told him, "Go away. I'm waiting for the great cloud dragon." But then when the riders of the north descended and they came roaring toward the city and all seemed lost, when they were on the brink of destruction, the little old man reappeared and placed himself before the approaching army, and he puffed out his cheeks and he sprang into the air and he transformed. His coat turned to sunlight and sunset shining through soft rain. Scale formed on his magnificent body, each one catching the light. His eyes blazed like a proud horse. His presence filled the sky. And when the riders of the north saw a dragon, they turned around and they fled, and the city was saved. On that day, the mandarin learned what a dragon looks like. Nothing less than a small, plump, balding old man. I love this story because it cuts to the heart of one of our deepest spiritual struggles, the challenges of expectations, sometimes born from pain, sometimes from boredom. We've heard that story again and again and again. And when we get into that rhythm where those expectations shape what we're seeing and hearing, we start to miss things. We miss the good and the true and the beautiful all around us. Sometimes we forget that in focusing our attention on its own is not enough. We also have to shift our expectations. What does a miracle look like? What is extraordinary in this world? What or who is divine or holy? The mandarin's problem wasn't a lack of faith. He believed in dragons. He believed it was possible that the great cloud dragon could come and save his city. He looked to the sky every day while he waited. And when the dragon did come, he didn't recognize him at first. In this season of stories and ancient narratives from far off times and far away places, in this room and online, there are a variety of relationships we have with the ancient stories of this season. Whether we understand the nativity narrative as mythology, or true, or somewhere in between. We tend to concentrate on the spectacular and the extraordinary elements in the stories. The appearance of angels, the visitation of the clueless three kings, a mysterious star, the mingling of the lowest of the low, the shepherds with the kings and the dignitaries. When we concentrate on the miraculous in these stories, either as this glorious moment of power and beauty, or the reason you reject the story because it doesn't make sense to you, we can easily miss that at the heart of this narrative is a child, a baby, and the night of his birth. That is a miracle. Or as Unitarian educator Sophia Lyons-Foss once wrote, "Every night a child is born is a holy night." This time of year, we light candles, we sing carols, we gather with family and friends, we share special food and listen to these old stories again, but most of the time kind of half-heartedly, not because we fact-checked them, not because someone has proven that they literally happened exactly as recorded. We lean in because these stories remind us of something true, something we keep forgetting and desperately, desperately need to remember. Albert Einstein once said, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious." Einstein goes on to say that to the individual who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe is as good as dead. This is the importance of the ancient stories. Hope dwells in a world of mystery. It doesn't always have to make rational sense to have power. It's in that mystery that can sometimes feed us and inspire us and keep us moving forward. Christmas and Hanukkah and the winter solstice, these stories that are contained within these holidays are reminders to stay curious, to look for the unexpected, to find the miracles in the everyday. And then there's the story of the shepherd Amos, who stays behind when all the others go to see the amazing child for themselves. I have always found that part of the birth narrative in the Gospel of Luke strange. When the angels disappear, the shepherds take off with great haste to go and find the child in swaddling clothes, laying in a manger. But what about the sheep? Really, what about the sheep? What happens to all the flocks as they rush off to Bethlehem in the dead of night? Well, perhaps one or two shepherds did stay behind, like Amos in the story of a shepherd. One who stayed behind to watch the flocks, to calm them after witnessing the mighty spectacle of the heavenly host singing. Amos sees the world differently than the other shepherds. Did you gather that? Amos does not go trotting off into the night. He has heard the good news from the angels and decides that he doesn't have to go. He doesn't need to see for himself. When he says, "I will abide," he says he will stay. He will stay with the frightened sheep. That is wonder enough in the field of sheep. The wonder of someone who knew himself so well to choose an alternative answer that was still rooted in love and caring. And as far as I can tell in the story, he did believe the angels. This is how the story of Amos the shepherd ends. With the morning, the others came up to the road from Bethlehem, and they told Amos of the manger, of the wise men who had mingled there with shepherds, and they described to him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And when they were done, they said, still with a bit of a mocking tone, "And Amos, did you see wonders here in the fields with the sheep?" And then Amos told them, Now my 100 sheep are 101. And he showed him a lamb, a sweet lamb who was born just before dawn. And was for this birth a great voice from the heaven, asked the eldest of the shepherds. And Amos shook his head, and he smiled, and there upon his face was a smile that was more remarkable than all the wonders that had taken place that night. Amos said to them, To my heart there came a whisper. To my heart there came a whisper. This is the miracle the others missed. The shepherds who went off racing to Bethlehem certainly knew what the holy looks like, or at least they thought they did. A Savior announced by nothing less than the host of angels, glory in the sky. But Amos, who stayed behind with the frightened sheep, who made clucking noises under his tongue, who attended to the ordinary work before him, Amos received a whisper. Amos midwifed new life into the world while others were chasing spectacle. We are trained to look for the thunder. Miracles are supposed to be remarkable, and for some of us, and then we can dismiss them. We even, in some ways, try to make that happen with our Christmas decorations every year. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Christmas decorations, but we try to recreate the spectacle and the hosts of the angels and the glory, whether we believe it or not, about how extravagant the whole holiday festival we create. And so we miss the wonder in the field. We miss the small, plump, bald old man knocking at the gates. We miss the whisper. We miss the lamb born quietly before dawn. We miss the miraculous in the birth of any child. New life, new love, new hope. The Christmas story, we have sanitized it. Put it into porcelain figures or fading nativity scenes, greeting cards, a retelling of the story that we sing but don't really listen to. When we miss the original story is raw and strange and beautiful. A young woman, a confused carpenter, immigrants with no place to stay, the imperial government at their doors threatening, no room at the inn. Birth, always painful. Birth rolling across her body, and a baby born in a stable. This is why we return to the old stories year after year, and why at Unitarian Universalist churches across this country, it's still the biggest attended services of the year. Year after year, we come because we have not the necessity to verify these stories for historical accuracy. We don't need to do that because we have different relationships with the story. We come to hear them because they tell us something about ourselves, and they remind us about our humanity. The miracle rarely looks like what we're watching for. The sacred, I'm looking at it right now, the sacred is in the mundane. So here is my invitation to all of us this year. Pay attention. Pay attention to what is actually in front of you rather than what you wish were there. Be willing to be also, listen to this carefully, be willing to be the miracle that others may need. Be willing to do the quiet, unspectacular work that actually tends the sheep and welcomes the stranger, feeds the hungry, and helps bring new love into the world. May we remember in this season and always that the sacred hides in the ordinary, that love arrives in unlikely forms, and that transformation comes through the hands and the works and the efforts of unremarkable people, doing the quiet work of presence and care. And may to your heart, may to your heart there come a whisper. Blessed be, and amen.
When I was a child each week, on Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest. He would read his holy word, consecrate the holy bread. Everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still, and now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. Holy water was rare at best, and it barely wet my fingertips. And now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming through a sea of it. Used to be a world half there, having second-rate hand-me-downs, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face. Say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come. say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. Made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. 'Cause everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Beautiful. 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 Thank you, Shannon, and thank you, Nicole. I'm just feeling so many memories and just touched by so much that this season brings up. I mean, I've been thinking about all the food and the cookies and I realize that I'm doing my best to try not to overeat and gain a bunch of weight. And then I also realized that Oklahoma ranks among the hungriest states in the union, one of the places with the worst food insecurity. So we're going to give ourselves a chance to do a little miracle by taking up an offering for Iron Gate, which is feeding people through all year long and throughout the holidays. They're going to make sure that the hungriest among us get some food. So as our baskets come around in just a minute, I hope you'll give generously for Iron Gate. That's our, as Nicole said, miracles happen in little small ways. It's not always these big angels from the sky. It's these little things that we do that make someone else's life better. So I hope you'll give generously. And we give away our plate every week, and we do this because our members pledge to support the congregation, which I want to thank everybody who's been pledging. If you haven't yet, there's still a chance. We'll be voting on a budget here in about 10 minutes in our congregational meeting. Directly following this service, we'll have our annual winter congregational meeting when we present and vote on the budget for the next year. And the thing about, the good thing about autocracy and monarchy and having popes and those who are, hierarchical systems is that those of us who are not those leaders don't have to do anything. They take care of all the decisions. But the thing about democracy is that we have to make the decisions ourselves. And so that's what we have here as a democratic congregation. And so it's your money, and you get to vote on how we spend it. And so I hope you'll be here. We're going to have a short meeting following this service and present and vote on the budget. And I hope you'll be here for that. And you can be online, and our Everywhere members can vote as well. And every Sunday you can join All Souls if you're ready. If you're ready to become a member today at noon, Reverend Nicole is going to be upstairs in room 203, and we invite you to join or learn about joining All Souls and becoming a member. We'd love to have you be a part of this congregation, this growing, thriving congregation in the coming year. Also, I want to let you know that also at 4 o'clock today, we're going to have All Souls Holiday Concert. For me, this is the beginning of the holidays. It just makes me so full of holiday cheer. We're going to have 5 of our choirs from our youngest children all the way up through our adults. We're also going to have a chamber orchestra with us to play with them. So we're going to take the roof off this place. It's going to be a little cold, but we're going to take the roof off this place. And the stars in the sky are going to be shining down upon us at 4 o'clock. Don't miss it. You're going to want to be here. If you can't be here in person, it will also be streamed online on our website. So come out for that. We also, this Wednesday night is our Holiday Memorial Chapel. That's a place where we come together, especially those who are feeling some grief and some sadness through the holidays, those of us who've lost loved ones in the last year, or who just have on our hearts the losses in the holiday season. It's a great, everybody gets a chance to call out the names of loved ones that they're thinking about lighting a candle. We each come up and light a candle. It's a beautiful service, and you're welcome to join us on Wednesday night for that. There's more information in your program and online. And then next Sunday, it'll be the 21st of December, so it'll be winter solstice. And so we are going to have a special solstice celebration at both 10 o'clock and 11:30. And for a lot of people, the solstice is kind of what this season is all about. And so we're going to lift that up in a really special way next Sunday. And then David's reminded me that in between the two services, for those who would like, in our chapel, we're going to be holding a Unitarian communion service, which we do 4 times a year. And this is one of the Sundays next Sunday for that. So you're welcome to any and all of that in the coming week. Let us now receive our miracle for the Iron Gate. Hey,
I thought I was hearing Snoopy in there. What a great morning to be with you all, and what a wonderful turnout. So good to be with you. Do stay for our congregational meeting, but parents, please, before you get coffee even, before you get coffee, please go down the west wing, far end of the building to pick up your children. In about 10 minutes, the congregational meeting will be starting. I'll be at the door. Marlon's going to be up here, but we do want to make sure that we're going to get the meeting going. And so it's just so fabulous to show up for one another, and we have so many events coming up. I hope to see you several times in the coming couple weeks. And so may the truth that sets us free, the hope that never dies, the love which casts out fear, lead us forward together until the morning breaks and love leads the way. Go in peace on this day. Go with hope in your heart. Know that you can be the miracle in another's life, and know that you are all loved, and I hope that you will be loving. Amen.